Hello, welcome to camera chat number 3. Today we're going to be talking about lighting. Now, lighting is one of those things that is really important in videography, but it's often overlooked because, cameras, stuff like that is a lot more exciting. So everybody talks about the latest camera and like all the big companies are really releasing these amazing kind of cinema cameras, DSLRs, mirrorless cameras, but one of the most important things, if not more important than cameras, is lighting. So today I'm going to be talking about everything to do with that. I've got this crazy setup at the moment, if you can see. So you can see I'm using multiple layers of diffusion on my key light. I've got the 300D there. I've got some bounce lights just to this side of me. And we've got a little MC in the back, which is giving me a little hair light and is kind of taking the color of this lamp here. We've got some negative fill, just that black sheet there, you can see it, which is basically, I was getting some spill on my background, so that's just to kind of control that spill. Okay, so if you're just joining us, just drop a comment to tell us where you're coming from. I'm calling from London today, so it'd be great to hear who's watching and where you're coming from. If you haven't already, just drop a like so more people can see it and we can get a discussion going. So basically how today's going to work. I work in kind of corporate commercial lifestyle, so I'm going to be doing a little bit about that kind of lighting. So the kind of jobs where you go along and you take, sometimes I take kind of like 10 lights with modifiers and everything like that, all of the things you can see that, that I'm using in the stream, all of this lovely stuff. So I'm going to do a little section about that, about best practices, tips for kind of lighting interviews, things like that. And then in about 20-25 minutes, we're going to bring on a guest who's going to talk to us a bit about using natural light, because you don't always need to take loads of lights to a job, especially if you're shooting outside in decent light. Then you can use the sun, you can use kind of practical sources like lamps, shop windows, things like that to really kind of play on your environment. So you don't have to take a load of lights with you. So I'm going to start off by talking a little bit about the work that I do and kind of the lighting that I use. So basically, I'm going to be bringing out a video on lighting soon, but the two rules that I say to everybody, regardless of experience, is, and just as a side note, I'm not an expert. I've been doing freelance videography for 2 years now, and a little bit before that I was doing it kind of casually. But yes, I'm just going to be talking about the things that I've picked up. But if anyone wants to drop in the comments any tips, tricks or questions about lighting, feel free to do so and I'll answer them as best I can. So basically, yeah, the two rules that I always say with lighting is, number one, make your source as big as possible. So basically bigger sources are softer. So if you imagine the sky on an overcast day, you've got the sun and the clouds, and basically the clouds are diffusing that sunlight and basically creating a huge soft source. So it may look quite miserable on those kind of days, but if you go out and you shoot particularly people, that kind of light looks really flattering because the clouds are diffusing that sunlight and acting as a big source. So big sources are softer. So as you can see in my setup, I've got this layer of diffusion here and another layer behind that, and basically what that's doing is the 300D, which you can see over to the right of your screen, that's just punching into a piece of diffusion, and then it's going through another layer of diffusion, which is this bit here, just to soften it a little bit more. And the reason I do that is, if you can see on that first layer of diffusion, you've got kind of like a hot spot in that first layer of diffusion. So I originally had just one layer of diffusion and I was kind of getting this hot spot on my face and it wasn't looking too great. So I added that second layer of diffusion, and basically what it does is it makes the light bigger. So if you shoot a hard light or a small light through a layer of diffusion, basically it makes the light bigger and bigger lights are softer. So yeah, the first rule, make your light as big as possible. And the second rule, especially if you're shooting people, get the light as close to your talent as possible. I see so many times, like behind the scenes shots, videographers, filmmakers, even people that are fairly experienced, they'll set up a really nice light source with a softbox, diffusion, and then they'll kind of back the light away from their talent. So it's kind of across the room from their talent, which doesn't look great. Get your light as close as possible to your talent, especially if you're shooting people. But this also applies to products and things like that. So if you're doing product photography, product videography, you want to make sure that your light is as big as possible and as soft as possible. And there's a number of ways to soften your light. So the first one we've talked about is shooting it through diffusion. As you can see in this shot, we've shot it through 2 layers of diffusion. And that's just softening that key light and giving that nice kind of soft look on my face just over here, and kind of subtle shadows over here. And also another way of softening light is to bounce it off a white source. So on my right here, I've got a big sheet of white fabric just taped to a light stand. You can see it over here. Yep, that bit there. And basically I've got a little light just out of shot, or you can see it there. This little light is the aperture f7 and it's bouncing into this source, and it's just basically filling in this side of my face. So bouncing light is the second way of kind of softening it. But if you're bouncing light, make sure you kind of back the light away from the thing you're bouncing it across, because basically you want that kind of small source to be far enough away that it kind of fills the bounce that you're bouncing off, basically. And that's what I've done here. I've backed it a little bit away. You can see the perspective isn't great here, but there's a good clearance between those two things there, and it's the same concept I've used on my key light. You can see I've backed it away from the 2 layers of diffusion, and that just kind of serves to make that source a little bit softer. I can see we've got a few people watching now. Drop in the comments, tell me where you're coming from, where you're watching from, and if you have any questions, drop them there and we'll try and answer them. Anything about lighting, videography, filmmaking. And if you've just joined, we're just talking about kind of corporate lifestyle, commercial look to lighting. So typically kind of like a setup like this that I take to my client work. And there's different styles of lighting. So this is more of kind of like corporate look, but you can kind of do a more, so if I was doing something that was made to look a little bit more natural, maybe I wouldn't have like the fill light, maybe I wouldn't have the bounce off here, or maybe I wouldn't have, you know, such an obvious backlight. So there's different ways to kind of light things, but it really comes down to what you're shooting and the kind of look you want to go for. I prefer like a more soft look, so you can see I've got soft shadows on this side of my face. But another style is kind of, if you were doing something a bit harder, you could kind of take away that fill light, and you can see how that's kind of given me more of a distinct shadow there. But I actually prefer a bit of a softer look there. So yeah, hi James from Bristol, how you doing? James, what kind of work do you do, and do you have a favorite style of lighting? Just to kick things off, if you could only use one light modifier, if you could only use one light or modifier, so softbox or a bounce or a diffusion, what would it be? So if you can only choose one light or one diffuser modifier, what would it be? And I'll let you know mine in a minute. If you're just joining, please like the stream and drop a comment to tell me where you're from. And if you have any questions about lighting, let's get into it. I'm just double checking because we've got our guest coming fairly soon, who's going to be talking about natural light. So yeah, just going over the setup. If you're just joining us, I've got my key light is the aperture 300D shot through 2 layers of diffusion. So basically that first layer is just taking away that kind of harshness, and this final layer is making the light really big and soft. So yep, and I've also got a backlight here, which is the aperture MC, which is set to tungsten, and it's just adding a little bit of a hair light to me here. Also got a bounce here, which is filling in this side of my face. Let me know if you can hear me okay. James said he's a product photographer and he's currently shooting using split lighting as well, so a big fan of your setup. Thanks, James. What kind of stuff do you do? What kind of products do you shoot? So mainly I do kind of corporate stuff. I haven't really done product stuff before, but yeah, I'd be keen to hear about your setup. If you're just joining, we're talking about lighting, everything to do with kind of using light with modifiers, but a bit later we're going to be bringing on a guest who's going to talk about shooting natural light. So we've got that to look forward to. Drop in the comments, let me know where you're coming from, and do you have any questions about lighting? The questions we're asking at the moment is, if you only had one light or modifier, what would you choose? Hey Scott, how you doing? Scott's joining us from Portsmouth, which if you don't know is just on the south coast of the UK. Hi Scott, how you doing? Scott, we're talking about, at the moment we're talking about corporate kind of commercial look lighting, and the question I'm asking is, if you could only use one light or modifier, what would you choose? So while I wait for your response, I'm just going to talk about the one thing that I couldn't leave home without, basically, and it's the 5-in-1 reflector. So if you don't know what that is, they're really cheap on Amazon. They're like £10-20, and you can use them for like bouncing light, you can use them for diffusing light. So if you see on my BTS shot, that first layer of diffusion is from that 5-in-1 reflector, and those costs, like I said, £10-20, dollars. They're really cheap, and you can use them for bouncing light. You can use them for, they've got a gold side, you can get like a warm look, a silver side, so you can get more of like a bright look, and they pack down really small. So I always take them with me, basically, and you can use them in a number of situations. They're good for client work, they're good for natural light, particularly if you're shooting outside. We'll get the perspective of Walter, who's going to be joining us later, talking about natural light. But if you're outside and you've got like if you've got the light behind your subject, something really cool you can use with the reflector is just to kind of stick that the other side and kind of add a little bit of fill to their face. That works really well. So yeah, the one thing that I would choose, and if I could take nothing else in terms of lighting, it would be a 5-in-1 reflector, 100%. Scott says, I'm just starting out in videography. The biggest challenge I'm facing so far is trying to light in confined spaces. I just bought the Godox UL150 as my main key light, and I modify it with an aperture light dome too. But the thing takes up so much space. Yes, true. The Godox UL150, that's the one without the fan, right? They've just released a light without the fan, which is really attractive in terms of kind of like filming with microphones. I don't know if you can hear it at the moment, but the 300D is just over there, is just kicking up a load of fan noise, so hopefully you can't hear it, but there you go. Yeah, but the UL150 looks great. Yeah, Scott's saying that's the UL150, the Godox UL150 is silent without a fan. That's amazing. And I think it's kind of, oh yeah, 150, so it's got 150 watts, so it's kind of comparable to a 120D, an aperture 120D. That sounds great. Yeah, the light dome, what kind of, like, are you talking like a really small space? Because like the light dome for me, sometimes I'm just wishing it was bigger in terms of like the surface area. But if you're in a confined space, Scott, what kind of stuff are you lighting? Are you lighting yourself? Are you doing client work? Because like in confined spaces, some really good tricks is, I don't know if you can see it on the wide shot, but some really good tricks for confined spaces. You can see up top here, I've got like a white ceiling. So what I'll often do if I'm in kind of like, if I'm doing client work and I want to get a really nice even light that looks like it's kind of like a skylight coming above, you can actually shoot a powerful light up onto a white ceiling, and it kind of just gives this really nice overhead soft look. Similarly, if you've got white walls, or if you can tape up a piece of kind of white fabric like I've done here on my right, then you can bounce the light like that, and that takes up less space than a softbox. So that's another option, and it means you've got something less to bring, basically. It really depends on the space that you've got, but yeah, bouncing light is really effective. You can see that I've done it here on my setup. I've got this little aperture f7 LED light, and it's just bouncing into this this big white sheet here. So bounce light is great if you haven't got much space. Scott saying, The Godox UL150 is a great light, effectively a 120D, but for half the price. Yeah, I think Godox are just doing such amazing things in terms of like the quality of lights they're bringing and the affordability of them. Because Aperture, like I use Aperture lights, you can see them. I've got the F7 here. I've got the 300D, that's my key light over there. But I don't know if you can see, I've got these subtle stripes here. And that's a Godox SL60, the Godox SL60W. And what I've done is I've just put some kind of black tape over the reflector dish to kind of make it look like there's light coming through blinds. So I'm a big fan of the Godox lights. If anyone asked for like a perfect starter light, I always say the Godox SL60W, because it's like £100, $100. It's a really solid light. You can use it as like a hard source, or you can shoot it through diffusion or bounce it or add a softbox to soften it up. It's a really flexible light, and yeah, I think it's the perfect starter light, the Godox SL60W. Shreya says, great setup. What key staple lights would you recommend for a beginner or someone starting out? So like I said, usually I recommend the Godox SL60W, which is a great LED source. But you can use what you have. So it might not necessarily be the most color accurate thing, but if you've got no budget at all, you're just starting out, you're just looking to kind of experiment with light and get an idea for how to shape light, the kind of look you like, you can just get like a torch or a cheap LED light from a hardware store, and just get a shower curtain. So not many people know, but shower curtains are excellent, ways, can be used for diffusion, and like they look really good. So in my setup, I've got an actual diffusion frame here, but basically if I had a shower curtain draped over here, it would be doing pretty much the same job and would look pretty similar. So shower curtains, they're like 10, 15 pounds, $15, and they really help soften the light. So if you just had like a really cheap, like a little LED torch, or like the little LED ones that you have sometimes in your garage or something like that, shooting that through a shower curtain or bouncing it off like a white wall or a white ceiling, really helps to soften the light. So if you're just starting out with no budget, that would be my recommendation. And a lot about lighting is kind of putting the time into learning about it. So there's so many great YouTube channels for learning about lighting. I'll just list a few up the top of my head. So the number one I can recommend for kind of commercial corporate look is Epic Light Media. So if you don't know that channel, it's amazing. The guy's really funny, he's quite eccentric, but he does these excellent kind of breakdowns of commercial corporate looks, and he just drops a ton of knowledge. The video is usually like 10 minutes long, but yeah, Epic Light Media, really great for corporate commercial kind of looks. And then if you're looking for something a bit more kind of moody, like with some LED lights, some color in the background, things like that, more of a higher contrast look, so something kind of like this, if I turn my fill light off, then Tommy Calloway is great. Tommy Calloway has a great lighting channel as well. So if you're like looking for something a bit more moody, a bit more contrasty with more colored lights, then Tommy Calloway. If you're looking for something a bit more filmic, so something that kind of is lit in the way that you might see on like a David Fincher film or things like that, Wandering DP or the DP Journey, those two channels are really good, and they light their YouTube videos like they're shooting a film. They look incredible, and I'm very jealous. So yeah, the DP Journey and Wandering DP, those ones. And then finally, if you're looking for kind of ways to make light look more like a natural source, and kind of so say you've got like a window in your background, and you want to make it look, you want to kind of supplement that with like another light, but you want to make it look like it's still coming from the window. Danny Gevirtz is really good for that stuff. So Danny Gevirtz's channel is really good for kind of stuff that is lit but looks a lot more natural, and he's got some excellent lighting breakdowns. So just a rundown of that: Epic Light Media for commercial and corporate, Wandering DP and the DP Journey for something a bit more filmic, and then Danny Gevirtz, something more naturalistic. He does use lighting, but he also kind of uses natural light and kind of supplements natural light to make it look like it's not lit with any lights, but looks great. So those channels I would recommend. Stay Tuned Guitars, Epic Light Media. Stay Tuned Guitars also said check Rob Ellis too for that dramatic cinema. Yeah, Rob Ellis's stuff is great. I've actually spoke to Rob, so potentially we could be collaborating in the future. I don't know. He's UK based as well. That's a good point. Rob Ellis's stuff is really good. It's kind of, yeah, very cinematic, and he shows you how to shape light on a face in ways, in detailed ways that I haven't kind of seen other channels go into that much depth. So he talks about like using hard light, using soft light, using kind of lights in the background like I've done here, making stuff look a bit more natural. So if you looked at the stuff that he shoots, you wouldn't know that he was using lights necessarily. And he did a really good video where he was kind of sat in his car and he had kind of this really moody lighting. There was stuff coming in from the windows, kind of this coloured light on his face and everything. So yeah, Rob Ellis, great plug there. Yeah, I love Rob Ellis's stuff. Scott says low-key lighting is much more challenging than the high-key commercial look. Yeah, can you be a bit more specific what you mean there? Because low-key can be done quite easily as well. Just depends on the equipment you've got and kind of the look you're going for. So just drop in the comments the kind of look that you're looking to achieve. I can see you've got a fair few people watching now. So if you've just joined, please like the stream so we get more people watching. Thank you. I've just seen that go up. Much appreciated. And if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and hit the bell icon, because I'm going to be doing live streams every Friday. We're going to be talking with people like lighting professionals, audio professionals. We're going to do like a gear of the year, cameras of the year on the 18th of December. So make sure you watch for that. We're going to be talking with people that have used kind of, obviously I'll be talking about the A7S III. We've got someone that owns a red Komodo, also the Canon R5. So we're going to have a really great December the 18th. We're going to be talking about cameras of the year, lights of the year. Make sure you subscribe, hit the bell icon so you'll be notified every time I go live. Or if you don't want to, just come back here at this time every Friday, basically. I've just noticed I've got my monitor in shot here, so I'm just going to fix that. Not very professional. That's better. Okay. Stay Tuned Guitar says nice. Yes, thank you. And thank you for all those likes, much appreciated. Going back to the question at the bottom, if you could only choose one light or modifier, what would you choose? I've already said that I would choose a 5-in-1 reflector, just because of the quality that you get from it and kind of the versatility. If you're just joining, this is my setup. So I've got the Aperture 300D Mark II as my key light, shot through one layer of diffusion, which is actually taken from the 5-in-1 reflector, which I was just talking about. Shot through there, and then it's shot through this second layer here, which is just a big layer of diffusion. And that first layer of diffusion is helping to kind of soften the harshness of the light, and this second layer of diffusion is making it bigger. So you can see there's a little bit of distance between the two, and basically what that's doing is making that small light source of the 300D Mark II, making it bigger and making it softer. And if you're wondering what that black material is behind the two layers of diffusion, that's basically what's called negative fill. A negative fill, negative fill is basically if you've set up lights and you've got light kind of spilling to places you don't want it, then put up anything black and that just blocks it off. So at the moment you can see I've got a bit of a stylized background here with like a window blind kind of effect. And when I set up my key light, I was noticing that it was spilling onto my background over here. So I set up this black material here just to control that spill a little bit and keep it focused on my face, basically. Yeah. So you've been very quiet so far. Drop in the comments questions about lighting. What kind of stuff do you shoot? What kind of tips are you looking for? Drop them in the comments below, and hopefully we'll have someone joining us to talk about natural light very soon. Yeah, so in terms of some of my favorite lights, I've already mentioned the Godox SL60W, which is a perfect starter light. I still use it now. It started off as my key light, so it's something I would use for lighting my talent on my jobs and on my interview shoots. And now I'm using it as like a backdrop light. Another of my favorite lights, probably my top light actually, is the Aperture 300D, because it's just so versatile, it's so powerful. And if you're filming someone against a bright window, then you want to kind of match that exposure. So you need a really powerful light to kind of counteract that window light. So if you imagine I was sat with like a really bright window behind me, you would kind of drop an ND filter on your camera and kind of dial it in so that the window's exposed properly and you can see the detail out the window. But then the problem that you would have is your talent would be really dark, and so you need like a really bright light to punch onto your talent and to kind of bring them up and match that exposure. So yeah, the 300D is amazing for that. And on a few occasions I've actually had that situation where I've had a talent against a really bright window, and yeah, it's just a really great light, and you can use it as you can diffuse it multiple times and still have power to spare. So I think the 300D is only on 30 or 40% at the moment, so it's not even half of the power it could be, and it's giving me this really nice light on my face, which I've kind of supplemented with this diffusion here. In terms of like a really fun light, I think the Aperture MC is really good, and it's really cheap. So if you don't know, the Aperture MC is like an LED RGB light, and basically you can use it to, like, I use it mostly as like a hair light. If you can see over, oh, looks like it's run out of battery. Yeah, it was providing a little hair light for me, but I think it's run out of battery there. But yeah, let me just grab it. So yeah, you can see this is the Aperture MC, and it's really small, basically like the size of a credit card, and it's RGB, so you can pick any color on the spectrum. Or a really great thing about it is you can kind of, if you've got like a blue wall and you want to match that color, you can kind of take your phone, take a picture of that blue wall, and that color will be kind of reproduced on this light. So yeah, I think this is the most fun light, and it's got magnets on the back. I don't know if you can see that. Magnets on the back, so you can kind of stick it to things. You can see I can kind of sticks to metallic objects like that, and you can kind of hide it in places because it's so small. Really great hair light, really great accent light, and yeah, it's only £100. So the only criticism I have of this is it's kind of fairly low power, and for like hair lights, backlights, little accent lights, that's not really a problem, but you wouldn't be able to use this as like a key light. But it's great, and they're really small, always in my kit bag, really great. So yeah, those are my favorite lights. Stay tuned guitars. Can you give some advice on lighting for home? So what kind of stuff are you lighting, and what do you already have, would be my question. Because that's quite a broad question, so it really depends on, and kind of like the size of the space you have, because Scott mentioned that he was shooting in quite a small space, so I would obviously give a different advice to if you kind of like got a bigger room like I've got here. So I've got a lot of space and I've kind of added in a lot of more stuff, but smaller spaces I wouldn't be able to do that. Oh, you shoot horror stuff, okay. So with that, you're probably going to want more kind of contrasty look, I would imagine. So something a bit more kind of with more contrast, so like light and dark and things like that. So what light do you have already? And if you don't have light and are looking to get some, what is your budget? So just let me know and I can give you a bit more guided advice. If you're just joining, please drop the stream a like, and yeah, if you're not subscribed already, please subscribe and hit the bell icon, because I'm going to be going live every Friday. We're going to be talking about lighting, cameras, audio. Like I said before, on December the 18th, I've got a really exciting stream with a few people. We've got someone who owns a red Komodo, someone who has a Canon R5. I'll be talking about the A7S III. So December the 18th, live stream talking about the best cameras of the year, the best gear of the year. Really excited for that one. And if you're just joining, I'm just going to break down my setup. So I've got the 300D here, which is shot through 2 laser diffusion, and that's giving my kind of soft key light. I've got a bit of white material over here, which is the bounce, and also got a little bit of a textured light on the background here, and that's just a Godox SL60W with some kind of tape over the reflector dish to give it that kind of look. So S Scope says, "Hi Jack, looking to get into basic video work. Have a budget of around £1,000. Is this enough to get started?" Yeah, absolutely. So like I was saying, the light that I always recommend to everybody is the Godox SL60W, and I think that's £125. So that's your light, and then you could get a softbox, which is like 150. You could get some like a reflector, they're like £30. And yeah, like an LED panel, some pieces of foam board. That's another thing I haven't mentioned. Foam board is really great. You can order it off Amazon. You can get it at like DIY stores, and it's basically like big lightweight sheets of white material that can be used to kind of bounce light. They're really great, and they're really lightweight. But yeah, £1,000 is more than enough. You could probably do it for 500, 300 to 500. You could do it for that. So yeah, I would say you've got more than enough to get started there. If you want any more specific recommendations, let me know. Sophie says, "Awesome, thanks. That's great to know. No problem." So we're asking, if you could only use one light or light modifier, what would you choose? I've already said that I would choose a 5-in-1 reflector because it's so versatile. You know, you can use it for bouncing light, diffusing light, adding like a warm kind of glow to someone's face, and more of a cooler kind of glow on the silver side. It's really, really flexible. Can you hear me okay? I'm just getting a little bit of delay on my audio. Apologies for that. Shreya says, "Do you have any tricks that can create outdoor shadows?" Can you be a bit more specific? What do you mean by that? Do you mean like if you're kind of on an overcast day and you want to create more kind of harsh shadows on someone's face? James said, "I can hear you just fine." Thank you, James. There's a little bit of delay from the comments to kind of what I'm seeing. So if you're just joining us, I see a few people have just joined. Just drop your questions below. We're talking about lighting. We're talking about commercial lighting, corporate lighting at the moment. But if you've got like more of a basic setup, if you want kind of advice on just starting out, let me know. There's a few people in the comments that have asked about kind of good setups for just starting out. So as I said before, I've been doing videography for about 2 years full time. So that's kind of my experience level, still very much learning. But yeah, drop your comments below and let's hear what you have to say. So Stay Tuned Guitars, do you have a name just so I can refer to you rather than reading out your company name? So Stay Tuned Guitars says, I actually have a decent amount of lights, a good SL150 and some GVM lights as well. Let me risk my question. What's some advice for lighting for horror and stylized lighting? Max. Oh, hi Max. Some advice for horror and stylized lighting. So I mainly do kind of corporate and commercial looks. So I haven't actually shot kind of that kind of stuff before. I have done more kind of like artistic projects where it was kind of more emotive and we use kind of like red lights and things like that. So that would maybe apply. I think if you're doing horror lighting, you'd probably want to get some kind of light with an RGB on it as well. So like I said before, this one is the Aperture MC. It's like £100, $100, and it's really great. For horror, you could get some really nice kind of red tones, some greenish hues on there as well. And what can work really well is if you said you've got a Godox SL150 and some GVM lights. Is that the GVM kind of panel lights? The LED panels, is it those ones you've got? And yeah, for horror, obviously, like I say, I'm not an expert on that, but I would think that you'd want something really contrasty. So kind of strong light on one side of someone's face and darkness on the other. Like I said, something a little bit like that. And yeah, adding color like reds, greens, you can kind of add it to the other side of the face. So if you could imagine you had like a really contrasty look here, and like say your character was in danger in your horror and you wanted to kind of bring that across in the lighting, you could add like some red on like an RGB light, add that to the other side and kind of fill that side with red. Or if you was doing something that was a bit more kind of like science fiction, you could use kind of blues and greens, things like that. So I would say, yeah, experiment with using a little bit of kind of RGB lighting in there. This is the Aperture MC, but there's loads of different options. If you're looking to get one, drop a question below and let me know. David Mudray, hi, thanks for joining. Says moon, blue coming through the windows, slightly harder source to cast creepy tree shadows on the wall, blue ambient bounce off the ceiling. Also using books, papers, a character is holding to fill. So thank you, David. I was struggling there because I mostly do commercial and corporate work, but yeah, so David's put a really great comment there with some excellent advice for shooting horror stuff. David, what kind of stuff do you shoot? Are you mostly doing narrative stuff, or do you do kind of more corporate commercial stuff as well? And yeah, David, where are you watching from today? I think we've got mostly UK people here at the moment, but would love to be proved wrong. So yeah, if you've just kind of joined, drop a comment, let me know where you're coming from. So David said, I do gaffer work on narrative on the east coast of the US. Oh, so we've got a gaffer in the chat. That's amazing. If you don't know, gaffer is basically a lighting specialist. So on a typical set, you've got like a director, then you've got a cinematographer or a DP, director of photography, otherwise known as camera operator. Then you've got a gaffer, and a gaffer basically does everything to do with lighting. So if the director says, hey, I want like a really nice soft light on this person's face, or I want like some really deep shadows, or like I want a certain mood achieved with the lighting, the gaffer will be the one that goes, okay, I know what to do with that. I'll bring in this little bit of diffusion, I'll bring in this little bit of bounce, etc., etc. So a gaffer is a lighting specialist on set, basically. And yeah, David, I wish I could bring a gaffer with me on all of my shoots, but sometimes sometimes the budget doesn't allow. But yeah, gaffer is a super interesting job and something I'd like to kind of look into in the future potentially. I've had a few people contact me about potentially being a gaffer for them. So David, if you've got any advice for kind of moving from doing camera operating, cinematography to becoming a gaffer, let me know. And David, if you weren't watching at the start, this is my setup. I'd love to get your thoughts on it from a working gaffer. I've basically got a 300D Mark II shot through a layer of diffusion to start with. That's to make it a little bit softer. And then we've got the second layer of diffusion here, which is just softening it even more. And then we've got a nice big piece of white fabric here, and we're shooting a little Aperture F7 LED light against that just to fill in the side of my face. And yeah, on the background here we've got some bit of texture, and it's supposed to look like light coming through blinds. It's actually, what time is it now? It's nearly 6 o'clock here in the UK, and it's completely dark outside. So this is obviously not real window light coming through blinds, but we can imagine. I notice there's a fair few people watching now. Please drop the stream a like if you've just joined, and make sure you subscribe and hit the bell icon, because I'll be going live every Friday. We're doing lighting today, but next week we're going to be talking about, I think we're talking about the audio next week. And we've got, on the 18th of December, we've got a Gear of the Year show. So we're going to be talking about cameras of the year, lights of the year, and a little bit about audio as well. So that'd be great. David says, this looks solid. What's the second layer of diffusion? So the first layer of diffusion is just a 5-in-1 reflector. And then the second layer is just a cheap diffusion frame that I bought off Amazon. So I'd love to get like a more kind of, I don't think you'd be able to take this on kind of client work, because it's a little bit kind of, the build quality isn't amazing, but for home stuff like this, I find it really great. It's 90 by 120 centimeters, if you're wondering. And yeah, it looks pretty good, I think. So yeah, 2 layers of diffusion, and the first layer was just to kind of make it seem a bit less harsh, and then the second layer is to make the light bigger and yeah, even softer. So Scott says, what are you using to get the texture on the Godox SL60? So to get the texture, I'm using strips. So basically the reflector dish is on the SL60, and then I've got strips of black electrical tape which I put over the reflector in like in slats, and then the light shining through that looks like it's coming from blinds or whatever. You be the judge of how good it looks, but I quite like it. I like to have a little bit of texture on my backgrounds if I can, just because it adds a little bit of interest. And also, if you've noticed, these kind of like the shafts of light are acting as leading lines, leading towards me, towards the talent. So I'll often use this on my client stuff as well. Love a bit of leading lines. David says, my lighting package is mainly aperture LEDs, so I love the use of the 300D Mark II. It's my main key light until the 600D arrives. Yeah, the 600D looks amazing, and like the 300D is already crazy powerful, so imagining something twice as powerful as that is mad. And you're getting into, so if people don't know, and David, maybe you can correct me if I'm wrong, but yeah, basically old film lights are called tungsten lights, and they're used, basically they run really hot. So when they're running, they're really powerful, but they're really hot. So whenever you operate old tungsten film lights, they're really hot to touch. You have to wear gloves when you're handling them and everything. And I've just gone off on a tangent and can't remember what I was talking about. Sorry, yes, 300. So, and basically LED lights have come along now. So all of these lights I'm using now are LED lights. LED lights have come along and kind of revolutionized the industry. So people like me who've got like a small budget can kind of get lighting that looks pretty good. But typically what LED lights struggled with is that they weren't as powerful as those old tungsten lights. But now, particularly Aperture's really leading the way with this. They're creating kind of lights that are getting close to matching those old hot big tungsten sources, which means you can take a really powerful light with you, and it can be affordable. And the Aperture lights are actually built really well. So David, I don't know what your experience is, but I find that the 300D is just built like a tank, and yeah, I don't really worry about it getting knocked around or anything like that. Scott says, looks great. Thank you, Scott. David said, very flattering on your face and great separation in the small space with the plants and window beams. The touch of color contrast with the practical is lovely. Thanks, David. That means a lot coming from a gaffer. Basically, I'm 2 years into doing this now, and pretty much like my first year and a half was all kind of just trying to learn the industry, learn about cameras, lenses, audio. There's so much to learn, and it's only really now that I'm really delving into like what I want to get out of lighting and experimenting with lighting a little bit more. So yeah, it's really great to hear that you like it. Old bigger tungsten fixtures. If you've just joined, please drop the stream a like. Drop the stream a like, and if you aren't already, subscribe and hit the bell icon, because I'm going to be going live every Friday. We're going to be talking about lighting, cameras, audio, the industry. This channel is really about, inviting people into the discussion. So the channel's got my name on it, but I don't really want it to be about me. I want to be able to kind of talk to the audience, to you guys, talk to professionals from like audio professionals, lighting professionals, different camera operators, talking about gear, talking about everything basically. So yeah, we're going live every Friday. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss that. David said 2 years. Wow, really doing great in that case. Thanks, David. Yeah, I think most of it is just that I kind of obsessively watch YouTube videos on like cameras and lighting and audio and things like that. So like I'll be kind of like spending a day doing research, then I'll try out different things, and yeah, it's all trial and error and still learning, but thank you for your kind comments. We've actually got someone joining the stream now. So we've got Walter, also known as Walter the Bolter, and he is going to be talking about shooting with natural light. So I've talked a little bit about shooting with kind of more of like a planned setup. As you can see, there's a lot of stuff going on here. I like it. I like to kind of geek out and experiment with light a little bit more. But Walter does kind of more run and gun stuff. So he's mostly kind of he's just kind of shooting with a camera, shooting outside, like using the sunlight as kind of his main key. And yeah, I'm just going to bring him in now. Hey Walter, how you doing?
Good day, mate. What up, Jack?
How you doing?
How you doing, my friend?
Just realized I need some
headphones.
headphones.
How's my feed? How's the blurriness on my camera this time? Are we doing all right?
Looking good, mate. So I actually need to get some headphones. So Walter, if you wouldn't mind just talking to the audience a little bit about your experience shooting with kind of natural light, just for 2 minutes, and I'll be back once I've grabbed some headphones.
All right.
Take it away.
Hey, what's up, guys? I'm Walter the Balter. I'm an LA-based filmmaker, and shooting on the FX9, shooting on the A7S3, using the 6300 for photos. Thanks for watching this chat. Thanks for being here with us. Shout out to Jack Isaac and Julian Edelman, some guys I highly respect doing their thing out there. But yeah, I do a lot of natural light stuff. Not too much working in the studio, but recently I had the opportunity, still have the opportunity, to have this lens that I want to talk about with you guys today once Jack gets back and kind of like throws us in a whim. Sony was kind enough to send me this really exclusive lens. This is the 16-35 T3.1G lens. It's a cinematic lens with a full linear focus, autofocus, linear focus throttle. It's 16-35, and it makes beautiful images wide open. I sent Jack an image earlier that we'll take a look at. Natural light, and yeah, any questions, let me know. Follow me on all platforms, Walter the Balter, all one word, YouTube, and I'm just saying. And happy to be here with you guys. That's all I got.
Hey man, thanks for holding the fort. I've got my headphones now. Yeah, so Walter, tell us a little bit about the kind of work you're doing, because you do a lot more kind of shooting with natural light, run and gun kind of style. What setup are you taking with you when you're out on those jobs? Kind of shooting natural light, are you taking like a reflector with you, or you're mainly just using kind of like the available light?
Yeah, only using the available light. I wish I had we really need to come up, not we, but the community really needs something where we can have a reflector on us all time, but not depend on having an assistant with us. There needs to be some type of friction arm, or just something that allow us to always carry a reflector and be able to use it simultaneously with just shooting natural light. But in regards to your question, Jack, always got this bag on me right here, at least this small little bag, and I got 2 lenses in there. I'll keep the 55 on me, I'll keep the 24-70 on me, And I got these two 16 to 35s, and I'm comparing. Today I'll be doing a comparison between this and the G Master, and there is a big difference with this cine glass. But I always got two lenses on me. Always got the A7S3 on me, and always trying to just work photo and video as much as I can and get greedy just to put out as much content when I'm with subjects like my girlfriend or paid clients.
Yeah, so like if you don't know about Walter, he basically shoots so many different projects. Like whenever he's really active in the Sony A7S groups, but this doesn't necessarily just apply for Sony A7Ss. So he's always kind of creating new projects, shooting with he's done like a project for people like talking about their cars and like how much they love their cars. He's done like projects where he's shooting someone who does like knitting supplies and things like that. He's really kind of prolific in the work that he does. So Walter, how do you kind of come up with ideas and decide what kind of stuff you're going to shoot?
Man, it's just being hungry, Jack. Just wanting to get down and get dirty, wanting to be known as an operator. So as a freelance entrepreneur, it's just word of mouth. It's just really just getting out there, getting your name out there, saying, hey, this is what I want to do, or this is what I'm good at doing, and just putting that forward, and just people responding to my energy. But a lot of the times it's just the camera. They see the camera and they go crazy and they think you can do it. But it's just been an honor to be a filmmaker at this time with all the tools that we have, and just learn from guys like you and Justin. And I'm just so thrilled to just do this every day. I wouldn't wish this job on anybody, Jack, because you always need something. You always got to buy something, upgrade something, fix something, But for those who are called, cheers to you guys, man. It's really a privilege to do what we do.
I really feel you on that kind of like constant spending cycle. So like often I'll be like, I'll speak to my girlfriend and be like, hey, I've got this new light, it's amazing. And she's like, oh, cool. And then I was like, oh, and the next thing I want to get is this. So it never stops.
Yeah,
it always
never stops.
Yeah, man, it's like...
And they don't understand. It's part of the job. Like what helps me do it more efficiently is acquiring these things to kind of like narrow it down, or at least just get the next job done a little bit more efficiently, because we learn so much, especially when you're shooting on the fly. So I totally feel you, bro.
Yeah, and I think I have a little bit of a gear obsession as well. So I don't know if you can tell by the shot. There's a lot of stuff.
That's bad. I see you. I see. I don't even want to show my little Godox SL60s right now. I got one over top, and it's not even giving me enough feel because the other one's on my girl's machine. So I'm like, I'm gonna get that set up. You definitely send me a screenshot next time.
No, mate, you've got the kind of contrasty, moody look going, and some lovely art in the background, looking cool.
Word up. Got the little color right checker here. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So this stream is about lighting. So I wanted to ask you, because I see some of the work you do outside and kind of shooting in natural light, and it just looks really good. It looks like you've kind of taken a fill or a reflector with you. So what kind of techniques are you using when shooting your subjects outside? Are you kind of positioning the sun behind them to get that kind of backlighting? What kind of things are you doing to use your available light?
No doubt, Jack. I'm totally freestyling all of the time. I'll find that I'm lining my subject up. First thing I'm looking at is composition, looking for leading lines, looking for bokeh, looking for spots of like half sun, half shade to throw my subject in. And then I'm just taking them through a sequence, whether it's just like a walk by or whatever the case may be I'm trying to capture. So first thing is composition. Next thing is finding the light. And then I learned something from Scott Robert Lim, which was once you find that light, try to position your subject's nose towards the sun, and that will allow enough fill to hit their face. So once they start moving, the shade or whatever, or however the light's working around that subject will add curve to the subject as they move from and throughout the light. So just looking for great composition, and really just trying to move from this whole like run and gun shooting to more commercial style. But it does take a while to kind of like get comfortable with subjects, get comfortable with your cameras most especially, and then hone that in towards specific spec ad work. And that's what we're moving towards really, really soon. We've just been using this lens to kind of just give Sony what they asked us to do, and also make tons of content that can get us on platforms like this with you to just like communicate thought and process.
Yes, you mentioned that you wanted to move into kind of more commercial, corporate kind of stuff. How long have you been shooting for? Because like I only met you kind of a few weeks ago. And it's been great to know you so far.
I know, right?
But yeah, like how long have you been doing it, and what kind of made you go into shooting more kind of natural stuff on the fly, run and gun, as opposed to going straight into doing like corporate commercial stuff?
Yeah, I want to start from the ending of it, because what makes me want to get into commercial work is just the intricacy it takes to make your final product. You know, you're controlling everything. So just having that ability to just give people a design that is totally you, that really just fires my, gets my rocks off. And just to, backtrack to where, the question started in 2006 with a little point and shoot, and didn't know crap about it. Just knew that it looked, I liked the way things looked after they were captured. And so from 2006, just went through all creative ruts from trying to make music and all this stuff, and then just came back to the camera. I would say 2000, 2012, when I was using like NEX7s and stuff like that. But it all just evolved, Jack. I think that if this is what you call to do, you're gonna find a way to do it just like anything else. And for me, it was really just about tired of selling, $200 shoes for $14 an hour, and then just really wanting to be somewhere else where I can have creative control. And so, I think I got here in LA in 2016, September 12th, and I took one job at Nike for like 90 days, and I quit it just because it was just such a rut being there. And ever since then, I've shot like the Beverly Hills Food and Wine Festival 18 and 19, the BET Awards 17, 18. I shot for Porsche, the Porsche Experience in Carson, California, where they brought out the entire fleet of Porsches, let me put the drone up and just make like a 4-minute sizzle. I got to get back there with the chefs, and so don't mean to go on an accolade run, but I just think that I truly think that a lot of people are called to do this, and those people, I think they elevate the game because they elevate the craft, because they're just outputting so much. They're just able to show you a new perspective, and it's like I said, it's been a privilege, and I'm just happy to be here. That's it.
Yeah, mate. And we've got a question from David for you, Walter. How do you like the FX9 for more fast-paced work? How much do you customize it to your own workflow? So, David, you've asked a question now, because Walter's like the rig master. He's always building these crazy rigs. And Walter, do you want to just go through what you've got on there with the FX9?
Yeah. What's up, David? Shout out to David. What's up, my boy? Here's my FX9. You can't really see it because it's a lot of, it's not enough light right here. But listen, I love handles. Listen, let me make this real simple. When you know how to first, once you understand the fundamentals of cinematography, and you match those with footwork, when you match those with vision, when you match those with hand holding a rig, or just moving a camera towards your subject, towards what you're trying to capture. Listen, all of these handles are very, very necessary, and I want to go through that at another time, and I'm going to get to it. But I just really enjoy the ergonomics of being able to switch my positioning on my camera, switch my movement, switch, and just hold the camera any type of way to get the shot. I mean, I have great footwork. I have a football background, so I use that to apply, fundamentals when I'm pushing and pulling, when I'm panning and tilting, when I'm rolling and dollying, or when I'm just, using this for the servo. Listen, the servo zoom on this is amazing. It's insane. The power zoom is insane. There's a high and low speed on it, and I'm getting kind of wrapped up in it. But yeah, dude, I love handles. I love handles, man. Just because when you really get good, you don't have time to like put it on a Ronin. You don't have time to, think about how you're gonna get it. You just got to get the camera up, get it comfortable in your hand, and just start ninja crawling, start ninja walking. And people been calling me handle god and stuff. I really appreciate that. But I think that ergonomics on the camera are like half of the battle, because once you start remembering all of the buttons, once you start remembering exactly what you need to dial in to get this next shot, the other half is holding the camera. And I can hold this camera anyway. And if you got like 60 more seconds, I'm gonna pop this off and show you. Watch this, chat. Watch this real quick. All right, so this is on the base plate. I'm gonna take it off the Manfrotto style. Boom, boom, boom. So if I wanted to, guys, can you see this? There we go. I got the bat handle on the back, and I'm nice and tight. Like I'm super strong. I'm like really strong. So as I'm breathing, and I do yoga too. As I'm breathing, I can pan. My little chair. I can pan. I can tilt. Right. I can roll the camera if I wanted to. I can push. I can pull. I can lower. I can raise. I can throw this thing on my shoulder. And usually I'll have this down, but I have two handlebars here. So it's all about just being able to get into any shot at any time. And I can come underneath for, a third point of contact. I can access my zoom here and my focus for E&G style shooting. I can go underneath into my elbow, use this like FX6 style and just kind of like shoot it like a turret, you know what I mean? This rotates, just think about it. I can hold this thing, I can start and stop from up here on the body, on the right handle. I mean, it's just, you just really got to know how you like to shoot, be comfortable with that. Don't take judgment, don't take no shit from nobody, and just get out there and do your thing. The hate is going to come with it, but this is what I always say. Dream is real, nightmares are cheap, but the vision is expensive. The vision going to cost you a lot. It's going to cost you integrity, it's going to cost you humility, it's going to cost you money. It's going to cost you, opportunities lost because you didn't get out there and do it to execute your vision because you was worried about how, people going to think my rig is too heavy or whatever. You know what I'm saying, bro? Just get out there and fucking film. Y'all be seeing me. I be moving. I move like a tyrant in the street. So y'all got questions? We here to answer.
I really feel you on that, Walter, because there can be a lot of negativity, I think. I mean, like 99% of like the camera lighting world is really supportive and really kind of encouraging, but there's like a small percentage of people that will just kind of like put you down and bring negativity and things like that. And like to be honest, when you start filming, like your work isn't going to be very good. Like my first videos wasn't very good, and probably the same with you as well. Like it's gonna be look terrible, but it's only by like doing that again and again and again that you learn what you like. You learn kind of the movements of the camera that you like. You learn kind of like the lighting that you're into. You learn about mic placement and things like that. So don't listen to the kind of the people that are kind of will try and bring you down, and they'll try and kind of criticize, like over criticize your work. Like constructive criticism is great, and yeah, if they've got points for you, 100%. But just ignore the negativity. Go out there and shoot. And just learn. Like the more you do it, the more you'll learn. I've been doing it for 2 years now, but I feel like I've still got a massive way to go with everything: lighting, camera, audio, etc. Yeah, 100%. Edgar says, wise words. Thanks, Edgar. Probably more Walter than me. Sophie says, looks great. Feels like your rig almost becomes an extension of your body. Yeah, I always say that Walter's like half man, half rig. So he's
Yeah, yo, it is, yo. Like, listen, I'm like Tony Stark. Like, if Tony Stark was black, he'd be me, and I would call it. And his name would be Stony Dark. You know what I'm saying? Imagine that. Let's do a little spin one time on that. But
You've been practicing that line, haven't you? You've been practicing that line.
Bro, I'm a brand. Like I tell you this, I'm really like energetic. Like I got everything figured out. But as far as the turret, the gun, bro. This is my machine. With this hammer I wield, I'm gonna build and get us out the fields. I'm really connected to it. I'm a camera, like bro. Just like Jack said, it's really all about repetition. And Nick Brzezinski, shout out to Nicky Films. He told me this one day. We were interviewing Stevie Wonder. I kid you not. We were in his radio station. He's funny as shit. He be telling all kind of blind jokes about himself. We were interviewing Stevie Wonder, and it was a outtake in between. And Nick Brzezinski told me this one thing. He said, "One day, you're gonna get." He basically was just saying, one day it's all gonna click. Thanks, baby. One day it's all gonna click. And I reiterate that with what Jack said. It's all about like muscle memory, because the more you do it, the more you can just sync up and get out there and do it. And like for me, guys, really, it's not even fun no more. Like I have to watch myself when I'm working with my girlfriend and stuff, or just because like sometimes I realize that like I've gotten so like direct about what I'm trying to do that I'm not having fun. And when you get so good, not good, but when you get so personal about attacking and executing your vision, you know, things look like this because, you know, you have a certain, you trust your own process. So, you know, I just encourage everybody to trust their own process, you know, and it's all about muscle memory. Like now, I know, like like it's like a checklist. You know what I'm saying, Jack? When you get out there in the field, it's like a checklist. Boom, boom, boom. Everything's firing off. So, yeah, man, shit should look like this because you know the camera matters, but the person matters more than the camera. This is like a representation of me. It's not really like a flex. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, definitely. And so I did have a point. It's just gone. Someone said in the comments, "What's your tilt knob? Because your FX9 is tilting down."
Oh yeah, I'm just flexing right now.
No, like yeah, it looks like it's gonna fall over.
yeah, exactly. It's just a prop right now. You know what I'm saying? I'm just doing crazy shit. You know what I mean? That's all.
Sorry.
This shit is a fucking This shit is amazing.
So David says, truly, especially as the projects and budgets get larger, it's all about knowing what you can do and how long it takes. Definitely, it's knowing kind of like, and the expectations of the client as well. What does the client want you to do, and what expectations do they have?
And when everything's streamlined, I think when everything's streamlined, you can just come in there with one package. You know what I'm saying? Like, look, yo, Jack, I've been using this A7S3 just like this recently, just no screen, no nothing, because the battery lasts a long time. So if you get like 3 or 4 batteries, you could literally go into a situation where you're shooting something with the client, and if you got good handheld footwork, you got good 3 points of contact, like this machine right here, just this and a microphone, can just save you so much time rather than bringing something like this in. So, you know, I definitely identify with what you guys are saying in regards to, you know, kind of like streamlining the process, even though y'all said it in different words.
Yeah, definitely. And just going back to, I just remember my point basically when you talked about sometimes you get so deep into an idea, into a setup that you kind of, someone like similar with me, like my girlfriend's like, Jack, you're stressing out, calm down. Like, and it's I think that's right. Like you need to remember to have fun, because sometimes like if I'm setting up a crazy lighting setup so you can see like this, there's a lot going on, there's a lot of stuff. And yeah, just taking a step back sometimes, and just remembering to have fun and just like relax, because I think that's me as well. Like when I'm on client jobs, I'm stressing out about the lighting, I'm stressing out about the microphone, the cameras, everything. It's important to remember to like take a step back, breathe, and just enjoy it.
That's real.
Yeah,
that's real.
We've got a few people that just joined, so drop your comments below. We're talking about lighting. We've got kind of 2 ends of the spectrum here. Walter does kind of more run and gun, natural light, and he does some really amazing work with it. And I'm kind of doing a bit more kind of commercial, corporate stuff. So we can kind of answer questions on both those things. Let us know. David had a really interesting point. He said he was, So David, who, if you don't know, is a gaffer, also known as a lighting specialist. He said, I love big walls, 18-wheeler trailers, white fans. You can use them as bounce fill to fill out the frame on run and gun situations. So yeah, big white sources, great for kind of run and gun stuff. Is that something you've used kind of out and about, Walter?
Hell no. But that made me think though, you know what I'm saying? Like now, maybe I'll have a girl in between the truck or whatever to get some fill out of her face or something. I'm not sure, but I think gaffers shout out to the gaffers, man, because we all know camera talk runs the party. You know, it's the meat of the conversation. But you know, what we don't talk about, what we don't stress about more is filmmaking is cooperation, and we get to play with light, movement, and story. It's the best job. That's what I'm saying. So, you know, when I'm out here running and gunning, I wish I had guys like David to just help me think a little bit more clear, or just compose a little bit more better. You know what I mean? So, you know, shout out to guys like David, man. That's important stuff. I think that's awesome that you mentioned that.
Yeah, like I said to David earlier, like I wish I could take a gaffer with me on every job, but like the budget doesn't really allow at the moment. But yeah, like the work, like whenever you look at, pick your favorite film, take a shot from that film. The chances are someone is probably, correct me if I'm wrong, David, but someone's probably kind of obsessed over that look for hours, maybe even days, just to get that look looking just right, just to make it look like someone sat next to a window. And you'll be watching that shot and you'll be like, oh yeah, they're by a window, they must have shot it next to a window. But actually they're bringing in kind of loads of extra things. They're bringing in, like you can see here, I've just basically tried to make it look like there's a window next to me, but in reality you can see all this stuff is going on. There's not a window in sight, and it's darkness outside. So, but my point is, yeah, gaffers are so valuable. Same with sound people. Like Walter, you probably have the same situation. But when I'm going to a job at the moment, I might have like a second shooter, but mostly it's kind of me going by myself, manning the cameras, the audio, the lighting, a million jobs. And if you can get like someone who specializes in lighting, like a gaffer or a sound person, it's next level. Like the difference is amazing. And like I said, watch your favorite TV show, your favorite film, you'll see like, and then go watch maybe like a standard YouTube video, and you'll see the difference in lighting. It's mad.
Yeah, lighting is everything, guys. We got to talk about it more. We got to get better.
Well, this is what the stream's all about, Walter. Like we love to obsess about cameras, and me and Walter actually met on the Sony A7S III group, so we love to talk about gear. But yeah, this is more of like my thought process of wanting to kind of reframe the way I think about things. So thinking about lighting and audio a little bit more and gear a little bit less. Basically, that's my plan. I don't know. We'll see. But I love geeking out about cameras, so.
As long as it gets us, better in the process, because I'm all with it. I'm all for it.
So David said sometimes it takes weeks to set up individual shots. Man, that's amazing.
Damn.
Like Roger Deakins on Blade Runner 2049, so much pre-planning and pre-rigging and custom light builds. Yeah, I mean, Walter, have you seen Blade Runner 2049?
You know what? I've only seen reference files because everybody seems to be copying that. So no, I haven't watched it yet. My bad. But next time
No, go watch it, because some of the lighting setups in there are insane. Nice Marvel boxes there.
Oh yeah, my bad. I'm just trying to fix my light, man. Y'all got me pumped right now. Y'all got me pumped like fuck. My shit ain't got no feel. Fuck that. I'm
That's all right. I'll take you off. So David, maybe you can talk a little bit about kind of some of the recent setups you've done. You're doing commercial, if that's right. And yeah, rigging as well. Like there's people don't realize that lighting takes a lot of stuff to kind of get it to light something, basically. So here you can see I've got a million stands. This is a really basic setup. This is not like this kind of stuff David's doing. David's like next level, but this is like, you can see how much lighting and stands and clamps, and there's so much gaffer tape here. Like stuff is just taped together, like gaffer tape.
It's beautiful, bro. It's beautiful.
Gaffer tape is your friend, literally. That always lives in my bag, just because you can tape lights to stuff, you can fix things that are broken. It's amazing.
Yeah, Jack, I do gotta say your setup is beautiful. I mean, you got this really, really nice shadow on the backdrop from the plants coming in, from whatever's hitting off the wall or bouncing, or just coming off of the side of the light. You got this really, really nice key light hitting the left side of your face, on the left side of your eye, and it's beautiful. You got this heavy, not heavy, but this medium shadow on the right side. I mean, it's just clean. You got this accent light in the back, or what are those called? Practical. It's just really, really clean, man. So we do want to give you props on your setup too, and realize that.
I was trying to decide whether to go for like a more like this look or a more like contrasty, so taking more of that fill out, which you could go for as well. But I actually prefer like more of like a softer. But it's like a personal taste thing. That's another thing about lighting. Like so much of it is down to like your personal taste. So some people like more kind of like deep shadows on faces, and that's cool as well. There's no real right or wrong answer when it comes to lighting. I'm sure David could probably speak to that as well. David said, for sure, commercial and some narrative is what David does. The last thing I lit was a Christmas film. Lots of quasar tubes in the hallway and blacking out windows and skirting and gelling ceiling fluorescence. Okay, so I'm just
Wow.
going to break down a bit of that because some people that are new might not understand. Basically, quasar tubes are like LED light tubes, and David, I think you can adjust the color temperature and kind of like get some RGB out of those. They use them a lot for kind of like hair lights, backlights, things like that. One of the lighting groups I'm in, they were doing like a commercial in a bathroom, and they basically filled the bathroom full of these kind of quasar tubes, these light tubes, just because you can kind of hide them anywhere, and they really kind of help elevate a set. And then David said he was also blacking out windows. So yeah, quite a lot of lighting, David, correct me if I'm wrong, is controlling the light that's there already. So if you want to kind of shape a light, if you want to shape like a face, for example, and you've got this really strong light coming in from the other direction, you're going to want to kind of black that out. And similar concept as to like what I'm doing here. So there was light spilling on the background, so I added this kind of black material to stop that. But that concept also works with kind of blacking out windows and things like that. David, using
Jack, I
quasars.
think you should experiment. Go ahead.
Sorry, go on.
I was gonna say I think you should use that contrast look for YouTube video. Like something like that. It's really, really great. Just make
Sorry,
it
man, you
experiment
went
with that.
fuzzy there. Say that again.
Oh, I was just really, really quickly. When you turn that light off to look, and you go with the contrasty look, I think that would look good for a talking head for like a YouTube setup. I think that'd be really, really catchy to just get both sides of your face. You know what I mean? Just straight head on.
Yeah, man. Like I said, it's like a personal preference thing. So, like, I don't know if you know Tommy Calloway. His channel's really good for kind of more contrasty looks. He's really good. So, yeah, it's just all down to personal taste. And like I said, it was like a flip of a coin, 50-50, as to whether I was going to go for this look or like more contrasty. But I went with this in the end. David, again, using the quasars at the top of the wall to be motivated by the practical sconces in the frame. What's a sconce? I don't know what that is, sorry. Yeah, so in terms of getting motivated by practicals, that's something that is done quite a lot anyway in film. So if you've got like a character, say they're in like a restaurant, you've got a character in a restaurant, the face is lit, and then kind of there's a light behind them just hitting their head. Sometimes what filmmakers will do is they'll put kind of like a light coming from the ceiling, like a practical light, so like a chandelier or something. But they'll bring in some extra light to hit the back of someone's head to make it look like it's coming from the chandelier, but actually they're using additional light to supplement that. David, if I've really butchered that explanation, let me know.
Rim light, so to speak.
Yes, that's right. Yeah, rim light, backlight, whatever you want to call it. Oh, okay. A light fixture attached to the wall is called a sconce. Thank you, David. Here to school us on lighting.
Let's go.
Yeah, like I said, me and Walter, we're like videographers first, so, and kind of like learning about lighting. So it's really great to have someone in the chat kind of providing more of like a professional spin on things. If you don't know and you're just joining, we've got me and Walter. I do commercial corporate stuff. Walter does kind of like run and gun natural light, does some really beautiful work. We've also got David in the chat, who is a gaffer, who's giving us some excellent knowledge. David, just if you wouldn't mind dropping in the comments, how did you find the stream? Was it like on YouTube search, or was it like a Facebook group? Yeah, super great to have you here and hear from someone who's a professional, because like me and Walter were saying before, like what we do, like we're arriving, we're bringing the camera, the lighting, the sound, we're trying to do everything, juggling a million things, like monitoring the audio, making sure it's not peaking, like making sure the light's not overexposed, making sure like our camera's set right. So having like an audio guy, a gaffer, a lighting expert is just next level. And like I can't say enough good things about having specialists in videography and filmmaking. It's really important. That's why like when you see like the behind the scenes shots on films, they've got like 20, 30, 50, 100 people just to man kind of the lighting, the sound, everything like that. And they need all that stuff basically. It's yeah, so much respect for specialists in our field. David said he found the stream
David.
from YouTube search, but I think I've seen you on Facebook groups I'm in too. Oh, okay. Hey, David, thank you for joining, and glad that YouTube algorithm is working in my favor. Yeah, I mean, this channel is fairly new, but I'm learning all about kind of like SEO and like the YouTube algorithm and all that stuff. It's pretty mad, really. But yeah, if you like this kind of style of stuff, or like me and Walter are chatting, like we're actually planning like a separate channel where we just talk about cameras and stuff with a guy called Justin, who, if you didn't watch last week's episode, go back and watch that, camera chat number 2, where I chat with Justin and Walter, and we're talking about all of the new Sony cameras that have released. So go watch that. But yeah, we're planning a separate channel where we just talk about cameras every week maybe. We're still planning, but yeah, in the meantime, I'm sure Walter will continue to come onto my channel, and love to have him here.
Yeah, let's bless it. Let's bless it.
So Walter, what project are you working on at the moment?
Let me open Final Cut and see what I was working on last. Okay, so yesterday we did tests with the 16-35 Sony FE T3.1G lens, and a couple more with it. So what I'm working on now is showing you guys what the prime focal lengths look like on this lens, from 16 to 20 to 24 to 28 and to 35, all at 3.1, 5.6, f8, and I think I did f11. Pretty sure I did f11. But we wanted to show you guys what those look like, separation you get, and a lot of questions I've been getting was, how does this compare to the G Master Photo 16 to 35? Is there a different look to it? And so that's what I'm working on right now, and that will be out after this chat.
Yeah, man. So I think we're going to wrap it up. If you have any final comments, just leave them below, and we'll try and answer them before the stream finishes. But yeah, thank you for joining, and make sure that you're subscribed, because we're going to be doing this every Friday. Next week, I think we're talking audio. And then on the 18th, we're going to be, and Walter, I hope you can join us on the 18th, we're going to be doing Cameras of the Year episode. So we're going to be talking about all the wonderful new cameras that have come out this year. It's going to be really fun. It's going to be a little bit of a Christmas vibe as well, winding down the end to this crazy year. So yeah, I'd love for you to join us. But yeah, just generally this year's been, like, it's obviously been mad. The world's been going to hell. But in terms of cameras, like, there's been so much exciting stuff announced. So yeah, just a crazy time to be alive.
Yeah, great time to be a filmmaker, guys.
Sophie says, thank you, really interesting hearing you guys chat and your recommendations. Thanks for watching, Sophie.
Thanks, Sophie.
And David says, thanks so much, Jack. It was a pleasure to be here. My degree is in music technology, so I'd love to chat about audio next time too. Yeah, so I'm just finalizing the details for next week, but I think I'm going to be getting an audio specialist who's done kind of like Britain's Got Talent and stuff like that, kind of big TV kind of stuff. So you've got a degree in music technology? Yeah, I used to do music production as well. So that's kind of like half of the thing with videography is kind of mastering sound. So luckily I understand sound a little bit more than lighting. I'm working on the lighting, but yeah. So yeah, next week, Friday, same time. David, I don't know what time zone you're in, but it'll be the same time that you tuned in this week. And I just see you subscribed, David, so thanks for that. Appreciate that. Yeah. And anyone else, if you're not subscribed, make sure you do so now, because we're going to be having these amazing episodes every Friday. We're going to be talking with someone interesting like Walter. We're going to be sharing knowledge. We're going to be answering your questions. And like today, like David is, I don't know about you, Walter, but I've learned so much from David.
That's right.
So having him in the comments has been amazing. So it's like a two-way thing. It's not just us talking to you. It's you talking to us, sharing the knowledge, sharing the experience. Walter, what's that? Bringing in all this random stuff. What is it? Come on. Don't tease. What is it?
It's just another sled I got, guys. Right here we got the small rig GCT14. We got a dovetail on top of that, and I would say that this is about 12 to 14. 12, definitely 12 to 14, right? But we got two handles on the side, and basically this A7S3, I can drop in here. This is a C200 small race, like some 15-inch iron steel rod underneath. Basically set this entire sled up really easily, quick release it, shoot from the hip, shoot the top handle or the back is with all of these handles I got. So like if you guys want to learn about just like handheld filmmaking, handheld operating, Jack and I have this group called the Sony A7S3 Owners and Operators group on Facebook. Check us out. You know, I'm just passionate about like handheld operating. I'm an operator first, so I'm honored to be here and learn about lighting. So shout out to David Mudre for coming on here and schooling us. And look like we got one more question. Or no, that's Jack. That's Jack.
That's just me.
Another sled.
Yeah, Walter, like I'm asking you on the stream, so no pressure. But I want to do an episode on handheld shooting because I really love shooting handheld as well. And I really think that because you know everyone worries about the latest gimbal out, the latest slider that's coming out, and those things are really cool. But if you learn to shoot properly handheld, then there's nothing better, and it keeps you fit. It's a great way to shoot. So watch out for an episode on shooting handheld, which we'll be doing hopefully in the coming weeks, if not in the new year. So yeah, Walter, thanks so much for joining me again. It's been a pleasure to hear from you and hear all your wonderful the wonderful work you're doing and receive some advice about shooting with natural light.
All right, no doubt, Jack. Thanks for having me. I appreciate you. We'll see you guys on the 18th.
Perfect. So everybody, thanks for watching, and until next time, stay safe and goodbye.